Hey Manning, a Friday Garden Report with the boss, Nick Gelso, here to kick around some summer topics. Nick, we're still trying to trudge through without much news. There's been a little bit, though. Jimmy, and Joe Sway went live earlier in the week, talked about Wick's interview with the Globe, couple of things, and since then there's been some news. I went on All Access yesterday and talked about a report out of Germany on Kristaps Porzingis potentially missing this World Cup after O'Shea Brissett announced he'll be out as well,
Yeah,
rehabbing a knee
not one
injury.
show without you didn't go one show without mentioning his name. He's your new
Yes.
boy.
Yeah. Just put out a story on him on BSJ, so go check that out. But Porzingis, since we went live yesterday or talked about this injury or potential injury here, Latvia's basketball team came out with a tweet and said, "This isn't true. We'll have the lineup on. I think they're playing tomorrow against the DR in an exhibition game. So we'll see if Porzingis is out there. I think you feel better about him actually going through with this World Cup." I will say, Nick, the original report, and it's, you know, how these sources out of Europe are, you never know if they're the best. I generally tend to believe them because I think they have connections. And this guy is actually in Germany reporting on the World Cup. So I gave it, more credit than I think most people did. And his report said the Celtics, Porzingis, and Latvia are talking about whether or not he should play this. And so everybody saw Porzingis' foot and started panicking, thinking that this was going to be Hayward or Kyrie or, who else has gotten hurt right off the
Anyone
bat in the
else who was
Celtics
on that
tenure. Yeah.
horrendous Celtics all-time list I degraded this week.
And we'll get to that
Everyone on
later
that
as well. But everyone panicked about this, especially with Porzingis' injury history too. I, from the start, looked at this and said, they're just coming up with an injury for him to bang out of the tournament without much flack, and he's just going to rest and prepare for the season. Are you worried at all about this?
No, I mean, there's a part of me that I didn't want him to be injured, but I don't want him to play. So, I think it would make sense if they said he was injured, I guess. I don't know. But for me, I don't want to see Al's not playing, I guess, in World Cup now, which is good. And I don't want to see Porzingis. But it's not that I don't want people representing their country. It's just these are not Al, but like Kristaps is a perpetually injured player. So off season, rest, man, rest. We need him to be healthy.
We all remember what happened. I think it was just about a year ago in that Euro Cup or Eurobasket, whatever it's called. Danilo Gallinari, I think in the first game of the tournament, comes up lame on a torn ACL and never played a game for the Celtics. That's, the most recent example of what could go wrong in these tournaments. Now,
Paul George, right, 1 year?
That was the Olympics, I think, or maybe the World Cup.
World
some
Cup,
sort of
or
US.
maybe it was maybe the Olympics, but still, it was a U.S. team.
Yeah, you just worry about it, especially a guy like Porzingis who's got this kind of injury history, and he was talking about how important this is to him at the opening press conference and in some of the interviews after. So I'm sure he wants to go through with this, but it's probably something where, the Celtics just gave him an extension. They're trying to, have him fresh and impactful right away in his first year with the team here. I don't know how much say they have in this, but I'm sure they're nudging him and saying, just relax, spend some time in Brighton, get to the facility early, and just be fresh and ready for this, because this tournament's going to go pretty deep into September for the teams that advance into the knockout stage, and they're in a tough group. I think Latvia, they're with Canada, who's pretty good, and I think there's another good team in there as well. So they might not make it out of the knockout stage even with Porzingis, but this tournament's, a month here of pretty competitive physical basketball with those FIBA rules.
I want to see August, what's left of August and September before training camp. Like, let's get back in town, Jaylen. Let's go on the basketball court now. Enough of your, showcasing around the city, which I love. I love that he's been active in the city this summer. But I want to see, though, like, you hate to say 08 because it's so long ago now, but there's part of me that I remember, like, that trade happened. It was bang. Everybody was there because they were
they went on the Rome trip, didn't they?
Well, before that, though, they went to Waltham and just worked out involuntary stuff. So Garnett was there, Allen was. They all came. Everybody came voluntarily. Like, that's a team that wants to win a championship. To me, I'm questioning. Okay, there's been an intro press conference for Porzingis. there was the showcase press conference for Jaylen. Jason hasn't been at anything. So, I mean, okay.
Porzingis hasn't been around. Wick in the interview was saying he got to talk to him for a little bit after the presser, and that's about all Wick and Porzingis have talked. And
I mean, for me, it's like if a team wants to right the wrong of last season, if they think there's a wrong to losing on your home court in Game 7, and you have a new roster, which this essentially is. I mean,
yeah, these guys got to get to know each other on the floor as well as off of it. But most
people are like
on.
putting up memes that show the 08 roster and the 2023 roster and saying this year's better. Well, first of all, no, it's not. Second of all, how do we know that? They have not played a second together, not a second.
Ooh, that is a tough debate. I remember when we interviewed Pierce, me and Josue, we asked them which team's better, because last year's team was like 21-5, and they looked like they were going to be one of the great Celtics teams. And even Pierce was like, this team offensively would have blown us away on that end, but we were more of a defensive team.
I agree with that at that time. I think they would have blown anyone away. They were on such a hot streak. But do it, after the All-Star break, 08 would have destroyed that team. They would have fallen apart. They would have you saw them fall apart with the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm sorry. KG screaming, they'd be like this, I think. Unless we see something different. But I want to see some basketball, or at least know they're at our back practicing.
Well, we know some of the games they'll be playing in. I'm surprised. So they did not get opening night. It's going to be Lakers versus Nuggets on opening night, the ring night for Denver. And I believe the other game on opening night, which is a little bit later in July this year, is going to be Suns Warriors. So all West Coast games to start the season. Normally there's an East Coast game, and I almost was certain it was going to be Celtics, Heat. You'd have Lillard almost inevitably on that Heat side added to that rivalry. Porzingis making his debut. East Finals, 7 games last year. I thought they
didn't go there, did he? Did that
not
happen?
yet, no.
Oh, is it gonna happen? I thought Adam Silver put out his threat of all threats, his first threat in the history of his career.
But this
everybody's
gone. This is more important to me. Right away, Nick, I was so excited to see Celtics-Lakers Christmas.
Yeah.
I've been waiting 3 years for this to be the finals again.
Yeah.
Hopefully it can be the finals this year. But we'll at the very least get to see it in Los Angeles on Christmas Day. Celtics have been home the last couple of Christmases, I feel like, so they're going to hit the West Coast.
And for many years, they weren't. I mean, I'm going back to my whole life. I don't ever remember until, I think, the IT era, I don't ever remember a game being at home on Christmas. It used to always be MSG or Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They'd
at least be on the East Coast. This is a big trip around Christmas time, it looks like it's going to be.
And it's been an early game recently. I'm hoping it's kind of not a late game, but it's a midday game, like after Christmas dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can kind of see how it's going to line up just based on the times the
you can figure it
locations. Like Knicks are always at noon game. They're playing the Bucks. Sixers Heat will probably come on at like 2-3. Celtics-Lakers, I'd say 5-ish.
Yeah, which is a good time, as long as it's not going into the 9 o'clock, like the West Coast prime time is.
Then you'll get like the 8 o'clock Suns game and the 10 o'clock Nuggets game.
But like I'm picking on the Celtics, Bobby, but I'm looking in our chat, and obviously some Lakers fans are here, which welcome. We love opposing fans. But the Lakers are not better than this Celtics roster. I don't care what you say. They're not. Anthony Davis cannot stay in uniform. I would have never given him that money.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to get to money later. The Lakers just paid Davis $60 million a year for 3 years.
To play 40 games a year. I mean, what are we doing in this country? Seriously, what are we doing? We're paying people to stay home. How much is Ben Simmons making this year?
He's close to 40.
How the fuck is that guy making money right now? $40 million. He's making more than the CEO of Nike.
I'll agree with you on that.
At home.
I'll agree with you on the Simmons one.
Dude, if I got paid to sit at home, man, I'd never complain.
Well, look at your home right there. That's looking pretty good behind you.
Yeah, I'm on location.
I'm so excited for this matchup, though. I'll agree with you that the Celtics probably have a little bit of a better roster than the Lakers, but not by a ton. Like that Lakers team, if you look at the numbers after they made all those trades and got Westbrook out of there and brought in, Vanderbilt and
I like what's his name? It was with Miami.
Gabe Vincent's coming in
I want
now.
to say Gabe Vincent. I like that pickup for them.
That was a very bold addition. They spent a lot of money this free agency on some solid role guys. They brought back Russell, who came in and did a good job late last year. This is it's unbelievable. It's almost like the Celtics a couple years ago when they were like fighting to stay in the playoff race, and then they had that massive turnaround to the finals. This Lakers team was just dead, like 12 seed, 13 seed even early last year. And then by the end of it, they're in the West Finals. So they did a great job. And I think if they're healthy, if they're fresh, which is a real big
it's all about
question
health.
with them,
yeah, I mean,
they're going to be right there.
If they're healthy, and I think the Celtics can win 50 games with Porzingis only playing 40 games. I really do.
Well, that's the other thing about Porzingis is they're all going to have to rest.
I don't think the Lakers can win 50 games with AD only playing 40 games or LeBron only playing 40 games. I mean, that's kind of delusional, I think, to think that they could 50 games if they're going to sit.
Well, the West is so tough this year.
It's really, yeah. I mean, so they're in the middle of the lion's den there.
Yeah, and they could easily fall out of home court if they're not healthy. That's the kind of conference it's going to be next year because you'd think 10 teams make the playoffs now with that play-in thing. There's 11 legit teams, I think, that could all argue they're going to get home court. Denver, Memphis, Sacramento, Phoenix. Those are the 4 that got it last year. Clippers, if healthy, right there.
That's another one. Those 2 get paid to sit for the last 5 years.
Warriors, if healthy. They won the title 2 years ago.
This is their last chance, I think.
Lakers, the West Finals team that was the 7th seed last year. Timberwolves, don't love them, but they're a playoff team. Pelicans, if Zion's healthy again. So many what ifs here.
It's another
Thunder,
guy
who I love. And then Dallas, after just getting Grant and Kyrie's back and all the rest. That's going to be a train
wreck. That's going to be a nightmare.
You think they could be out again?
Yeah, I think Kyrie's going to be a disaster there.
Well, they were that team last year that fell out.
I mean, and yet fans are putting Kyrie on an all-time Celtics list. We're going to get to it, I know.
So this is Christmas. I can't wait. Maybe
Bobby, let me tell you, you'll be out there, and let me tell you, having covered several games out there, I mean, Boss TD Garden's amazing. It's a whole different atmosphere. I think you've covered Staples Center before, but on Christmas, dude, I've never done that. So it is going to be wild, man. Wild.
So last year when I was out there, both games were pretty good. It was that Clippers-Lakers back-to-back. They lost the Clippers game pretty bad on the first day. Kawhi was unbelievable. And then the second day, they went ahead. It was, when they were shooting 1,000,000% from 3. They go ahead by 25. Lakers came storming back. I think that
was one of the first worries because they went dry, remember?
Yeah.
They stopped hitting threes, and it just fell apart.
Yeah, and so LeBron and Westbrook are both running out in transition, throwing down dunks. Where I don't know if you sat where we were sitting, but it was like on the baseline in the corner.
Yeah, they're like pods on the sides. Yeah,
so we're on the
not
left
behind the basket. They're almost like 5 and 15 at the Garden. Yeah,
so we're on
great seats.
Oh, unbelievable! And
unbelievable! You could hear the players.
We were in the last row, so there were fans right behind us, and it's all kind of the stands that they build up right there.
Mm-hmm.
So LeBron's running out dunking, Westbrook's running out dunking, and these fans behind us are like jumping up and down, and the platform we're on's rocking. The place was literally shaking. They were going so crazy.
And then how about the difference when it changes over for Clippers? It's like 2 different worlds.
Oh yeah, it was.
I mean, Clippers. You go there. First of all, like even the lighting is different.
They cover everything up. You can't really see like the upper decks as much.
I'll tell you, I was at the Garden for Big 3. First time I've ever seen the Garden with no banners.
Why'd they take the banners down?
I think and I'm guessing here. I didn't even look it up to see, but I think logic would tell me it's probably time for them to get dry cleaned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a couple of years, so
sometimes they bring them places, right, for events or whatever.
They use the old ones for that usually,
okay.
Like from the old Garden.
Yeah, they got some at the Auerbach too. How many banners?
Those are replicas.
Do they have?
Yeah, those are replicas, but they're from Waltham. So those were. Do they still have the empty slot at Auerbach that they did at Waltham? Yeah, they should. That's great. That's great. That was
we were talking about who I think that was Doc, right?
It was Doc. Yeah.
and they're
Yeah, but
just getting it going.
you'd go into practice and you'd see KG just staring up at it. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's like you get the chills. Like, you knew it meant something to get that banner. And
We were
obviously,
laughing at, I think it was the Porzingis event, me and another writer. They're in the finals a couple years ago. It's 18 everywhere, 18, 18, 18. They had like the shirt with the empty with banner on it. Draymond ended up like scribbling something on there after they won. Then last year, it's unfinished business,
yeah,
unfinished
what is it going to be
business.
this year?
I said to the writer, we'll get it when we get it.
Yeah, when it happens, it'll happen.
When it happens, it happens. That's what it was. Yeah. But yeah, that game was incredible. One of my favorite games last year. Lakers came back down 20. They took like a double-digit lead themselves. Then the Celtics just came storming back down the stretch. I think Grant hit a couple shots. Smart was out there. And then Tatum hits this turnaround game winner over LeBron on the baseline, which was just an amazing moment.
I mean, those that say Jason's not clutch, they forget Game 7 against Philly. I mean, had he not done what he did, they don't win. That's clutch. Or even during the regular season against Philly, he had that tip in to win the game.
I was just watching that video.
That's a great game. That was a great game.
There were awesome moments last year, regular season.
The thing about Lakers games, like when I was growing up, it was always like the come late, leave early, sushi eating, very dainty, quiet audience. I'll tell you, they're pretty raucous now at the crypto. I mean, like they're pretty raucous.
Yeah,
they've turned it around.
Was shaking.
Yeah. I mean, it is fun to go there and see the banners and just kind of see our alter ego almost.
So schedule should come out next week. They're doing the play-in. Or not the play-in, the in-season.
What is this? Like, even Coop doesn't know. Max can't tell me. No former players are all like, what? I heard
it's very
Coop
confusing.
told me the WNBA does something similar.
It's almost soccer style. So they got the World Cup going on right now in soccer. And what you do is you play every team that's in your group once. And then whoever comes out of that group moves on to like the knockout stage. So it's a similar idea, except they're mixing it into the regular season. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're going to play teams from your group, and that's what it's going to count toward the in-season tournament. So it's part of the regular season, and those games on Tuesdays and Thursdays are supposed to mean a little bit more because if you win them, you're going to Vegas in December for the knockout stage of the tournament. And I think there's probably a couple buys or whatever for the best teams that come out of it, period, or wild cards.
If it gets the players to play more, I think it's cool. Is there playoff implications in there at all?
No, I wish there were. Like, I almost feel like you should get like an automatic 10 seed or something.
Or a bye in the first round.
Yeah, so here are the groups. Celtics with the Nets, Raptors, Bulls, and Magic. So those are the teams they're going to be playing on Tuesdays in November, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And
every single Tuesday, Thursday, they're going to play one of those teams.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a good cluster for Boston, if you ask me. I mean, that they dominate that. I mean, the Nets is probably the only real.
They're relatively weak teams. These teams have given them a little, me and the Raptors.
Well, I mean, but the Celtics play down to opponents.
Yeah, the Magic.
I mean, but look at the Lakers, dude, in West A. I would not want to be anywhere near that cluster.
Oh,
Memphis, Phoenix,
Utah's
LA.
Even tough.
Even Utah is sleepy, and then Portland if Dame stays. I'm looking at West B. This is interesting. I did not see this. I think that the only ramifications are $500,000, which to these guys is a drop in a penny in the piggy bank.
So I'm interested. So like, are the four? And again, it's really confusing. Mm-hmm. The 4 teams I think emerge from these in each side, and then play a bracket tournament style single elimination in Vegas. In December.
And what's going on with the rest of the league at that time?
They might just be playing regular games. And again, the championship game in this doesn't count, I don't think, toward the regular season. So there's not a lot of implications, at least for now, on the normal season for the winner of this. So I'm wondering, like, are the Nuggets or the Celtics going to win this? Like, one of the best teams, or is...
I mean, if there's no implications, I rest my guys every Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, that's the worry, right? Or, are guys even going to go out to Vegas for this? So, like, the league silver will be falling over when guys take this thing off.
I mean, think about it. Like, $500,000 means a hell of a lot to the 15th or the 12th man.
Right. They're going to be sending Cornette,
Fournette,
Pritchard,
and
Hauser, and they're going to be going
see,
crazy.
I don't want to
for
get
that.
into this and be turned into a bitch fest, but to me, the NBA continues to come up with these hokey gimmicks instead of just addressing their problems. Just make the players play. That's all. Like, you don't need tournaments. You don't need
So
all-star
you know what else they're
nonsense,
doing this year, right? You got to play 65 games to win an award.
which I like that because it's sad that they have to do that, but especially having to deal with the Jason and Jaylen. They wanted all NBA and all-star more than, I'm not going to say more than champions, but it felt that way to fans sometimes. I'm glad that they're going to do that because if you're not going to play, you're not going to qualify for kickers if they're still doing kickers.
Yeah.
Right? If you play under 65 and you got a kicker for being all NBA or all
It
defense.
depends how your contract's written. But yeah, in this, if you have that stipulation like Ja did last year, a guy like Jaylen does going for the Supermax, if you played 60 games, and there's a few exceptions, like if you get a major injury or whatever it is, like there's some ways you can kind of miss it by a few games and still get it. But typically you're going to have to play 65 games to make all NBA, to win MVP, to make all defense, all those different kinds of awards.
I mean, it is what it is, but I mean, it's just much
It's a
easier
decent
to
idea.
it's just much easier to suspend and fine. Really. I mean, that's what Stern did. You're funding a charity.
But the debate, and I was talking to guys about this all last year, Nick, in the union, they say it's the teams. The teams want to sit these guys down. They want to. No, I'm sure there's some guys who were just, taking their time. I remember Ingram last year was out forever with this toe injury, and every week it was like, is he coming back? Is he coming back? So it's different in every case, but most guys are saying
in some cases, in some cases, like Al, for instance, with OKC, I mean, it's just not needed.
Or even this year, yeah.
There are certain. What happened? There's certain situations where I could see that being the teams, but if it's the teams, fine. The team should be fine then. I mean, it was always the coach and the teams. Like, I remember
they did it a little more often during Stern. I remember.
Fined?
Yeah.
He fined Pop got fines every week when he was making this load management thing up. I mean, literally, and at least then you're funding a charity. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, to just say for the commissioner to say to the media and thus NBA fans that they don't have a load management issue is insulting to fans who are paying all the money.
No, it's BS. Everyone knows they do. And maybe the season's too long, and that's the other issue too, is they'll never make the season shorter because it's less money.
It's less money, but I mean, they've done just about all they could. They got rid of double back-to-backs. They got rid of double headers.
There's still a lot of back-to-backs.
Not that many. What, 6 on a schedule? 6?
No, I feel like the Celtics were playing back-to-back all the time. I'd be tired going to the games on
the second night. It
seemed
like it, but Bobby, that's because like you would not be tired going to back-to-backs, Bobby. You would not be. I'm sorry. I don't think I would be. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I could see the back-to-back thing, but
especially in different cities
and time zones. I get that. But
that's what they got rid of, I think, was the time
zones. Because I remember one year they had us going to California, back to Philadelphia, then out to Utah. It just made zero sense. But when it comes down to it, I mean, I think that the players have to want to play, and I don't believe this is why I don't believe it's solely the teams, because there's more injuries now than there were before.
Yeah. Well,
so why would teams are all over the analytics and looking at that stuff. They have more doctors than they have players at this point. I mean, they know that information. So like, why would they want to rest people and then see them get injured?
Well, that even goes down to the lower levels. Like when these guys are kids, they're playing like 5-6 games a day and tournaments and this and that, and they're playing basketball all year long. So there's been a lot of reporting on how just like.
Yeah, but they always
12 months a year basketball, and just how many miles these guys are racking up at the AAU level is
AAU is just on so many different levels is just wrecking everything. I mean, that's why you're seeing European players having such a huge stance in the NBA. They're the only guys that play with real fundamentals anymore. I mean, the fundamentals come from the Euro players, right?
Yeah.
Except the Euro step, but I mean, like the fundamentals come from them because. The kids today, I hate to sound like the old man, and I am, but like they're learning how to flop. Like they're learning stupidity. Like it just
the way Luka came into the league, it looks like he's going to be more and more the model. Like guys are going to the G League earlier, instead of college, going into programs, going overseas even, like LaMelo did.
I would
New Zealand.
love to see. I mean, that's a great thing to do, is to go overseas, because
Yeah.
not only are you getting the experience of playing with other professionals, but you're getting the taste of celebrity, because they die for these guys overseas.
Yep.
And you're also getting a taste of how to manage money earlier, because they pay really well overseas. So, I mean, I just think that's a really good thing. I don't believe AAU, having them go on the AAU circuit, is that much impacting injuries. I mean, let's face it, I'm a fat Italian guy. In the summers when I was in high school, we played basketball all day long, every day. I mean, I'm not comparing myself clearly, but I'm just saying. But I'm saying, like, these guys are machines.
And did you see? I took 26 shots a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, how did you play last night? Didn't you have a game last night?
No
box score today.
No, nothing yet. But
Evan Turner texted me looking for it, man.
Let's get back to the schedule real quick before we move on to Barry. Dates so I'm not normally excited for the schedule, Nick, but there's a lot of dates to circle this year, and I think it's going to come out late next week. Marcus's return.
Yes.
Grant and Kyrie coming back with the Mavericks, which in itself is always a big deal. Ime and the Rockets coming back for the first time. Gallinari says he's circling. No, he was on a podcast saying he's circling that game. He's going to be going for revenge. But there's a lot of
revenge
fun
for what?
games.
We paid him to be injured. What is he getting revenge for? I don't get it. That's like Gordon Hayward saying he's coming for revenge. He got paid 3 years off.
No, but those guys always come back and kill the Celtics. They always do.
Yeah,
and I'm expecting a big smart game. Grant.
I mean, Wembanyama is going to be great to see.
That's another good one. Yeah, I'll be excited to see that. The summer league game I saw of him was kind of a flop, but
you knew it would be. I mean, that's like the guys who are out there right now. Who's the new guy on the team? The guy with no hair?
Jordan Walsh.
They have him first team all defense on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, summer league.
They're like, we don't need Marcus. That's why they drafted Walsh for Marcus.
What are some other ones? Lakers, of course, always great. You remember LeBron's dance from last year. Golden State special.
Philly. I mean, they're just the NBA is great.
They're doing a couple of Philly preseason games.
That's always
a couple of Knicks preseason games. Hornets.
So don't forget the Dr. J game where he strangled Dr. J and Larry Bird strangling each other. That was a preseason game.
Was it?
Dude,
no, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Really?
They used to play like 6 times, and then they played the Lakers 4 or 5. They had a huge brawl with the Lakers.
What was up with the preseasons? Tommy was saying back in the day they'd go on like a preseason tour.
Yeah, but that was to educate about the game. Yeah. This was more just the way it was done. Like training camp was at Hellenic College. It was like practices, and then
all the reporters were trying to get Joe to do a Rhode Island preseason this year.
I heard that. I heard that. I heard someone, maybe Forsberg, saying that to him.
Yeah,
somebody was.
Yeah, so no luck there, but we'll be at our back. And again, I'm really excited for the schedule to come out this year. It's going to be a fun regular season.
There's something to be said to sending them away. Because
I feel like it, right? Especially for this kind of team that's coming together for the first time.
The last couple teams who had been together yet during clutch moments seemed to fall apart chemistry.
And again, you said it. Porzingis is going to need rest there in the year. Maybe Rob will be hurt at times. So all the reps, all the time that they can spend together is going to matter.
And you want them to develop bonds off the court. I mean, this, I think, is what has destroyed that. Because according to Danny Ainge, they'd sit right next to each other and text each other and not talk. I mean, when you're building a team, there's a reason why like those stupid icebreakers are called team building.
This team is pretty close. Did you see Sam, Luke, and who else was there? Grant was there, but he's not on the team anymore. It was Sam, Luke.
Luke still on the team?
Luke's still on the team, and Sam got married, Hauser, last weekend. Nice. And there was a great picture of them. I think Taylor Snow actually posted it, of those guys having the time of their lives at this Hauser wedding. I wish I got the invite. Hold on. Derek White was there too. I'm going to pull up the picture. You're going to die at this, Nick. Here we go. This was
all-time Celtic.
These were the Celtics at Sam Hauser's wedding.
Oh, nice. Who's Grant hugging there? Who's that?
That's one of the
assistant
coaches.
Oh, I thought that was you there with Cornette. Oh, look at what's his White looks terrific with he shaved his head.
Yeah, you didn't see it? He's
No.
going bald this year.
He looks good. And I'm excited to see Hauser. Hauser looks pickled in that. So does Luke. Luke looks pretty bomb too. That looked like a fun wedding, man.
Yeah, that was a very.
It's better than Tatum going to Draymond's right after the finals.
Blake was there too. Look at Blake.
I love Blake.
There's a lot of rumors that he's going to be back.
You're breaking the Blake stories.
Yeah. So we'll see.
You're breaking the Blake.
Look at Luke. Luke's like doing the want to dance with somebody.
Luke is doing the cornet contest right there. I want to dance. He's doing. Let's hear it for the boys. That's what he's doing right now.
That must have been some.
Look at Blake Griffin. He's so funny, man. That dude is hilarious. And is that Grant with the big? These pictures are great. Any other ones?
No, those are the only ones. Yeah. But
it's like, you know what never gets old? The gif of Marcus Smart doing the dance at the Celtics party before COVID.
What was that at the Encore?
Yeah, I was at Encore. I think it was 2019. It was like the COVID year, but at the preseason, like when they do the Shamrock Gala or whatever. Yeah, that was great.
All right, we're gonna get to some of the topics Nick is just burning to talk about here.
Burning. You're asking me to talk about them. I get it all out on Twitter.
No, you're the dude on here than on text.
True.
FanDuel, official sports wagering partner of CLNS Media. We want to let you know about this if you missed it on Tuesday. This is just an incredible new offer that they have going into football season, which is coming up fast. Patriots played the Texans last night to open the preseason. I think John Taylor, all of them were down there. Taylor was just glowing. I was really excited for him covering his first game down there. And this is an incredible new offer from FanDuel. Same
I love this
URL, FanDuel.com/Boston. But right now, if you go over there, they have all the futures set up. If you pick a Super Bowl winner, they're going to give you bonus bets each time that Super Bowl winner that you pick wins in the regular season.
This is the most incredible.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Say it again, because I cut you off. This is so awesome. Say it again.
So right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, FanDuel.com/Boston, you can get a bonus bet every time they win in the regular season. So if this team wins 10, 11 games, some of the Super Bowl favorites that you're picking might even win like 13 games if it's the Chiefs or something. You're getting 13 rounds of bonus bets that you can bet on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So just head over to FanDuel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com/Boston. Of course, 21 plus in Mass. First online real money wager only, $10 deposit required, and refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Go to gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support, or GameSenseMA.com. 800-GAM-1234. That's FanDuel.com/Boston, the official sports wagering partner of CLNS Media. Let's talk Rick Barry. So one thing I'll say off the top, and I don't know how you feel about this, Nick. Everyone was saying, so this video has been going around.
I mean, it blew up.
This
Rick
isn't
Barry usually does.
This isn't the first time Rick Barry's throwing some shade at the current league. And listen, we know a lot of the players too from the past. We've even heard Max saying, especially on the topic of money.
Yep.
So this $300 million contract Brown signed blew everybody away with the money he's going to be making year to year. By the end of it, he's going to make $69 million. And so Rick Barry, who was on a podcast, I think promoting the Big Three. I don't know if you ran into him at the Big Three event.
No, it was a press junket that they did for the Big Three. That the lady who was interviewing them she's in PR for the Big Three.
Okay, so they were talking about the money Brown's about to be making, and Barry says, just lost it here.
Here we go. You got it?
Yeah, you look at some of the contracts they have, like Brown, $300 million. That's just hard for me to believe. What's his average in the playoffs? 18 a game. I mean, 18 a game. He's going to make $69 million in the last year. 18 points a game. That's nothing. To pay somebody that kind of money, he's a nice player. I really like him, but he's got to improve his game. He turns the ball over too much, tries to force things. And so Tatum catches some shade here too. That's one of the reasons they lost to the Warriors. Too many turnovers.
Tatum got the shade. Yeah, I left that out of my critiques.
Yeah, because you're going to be more than happy to pay Tatum.
I
in
don't
a
know if
couple
I'll be
years.
more than happy. Like, I'm not going to get into the pay yet. You control the conversation.
So again, the money blows everybody away here, and it's gonna be even like this is just the beginning, Nick. By the end of next decade, I think the players in this league, especially, they're going to get a couple expansion teams. The cap's going to keep going up with TV rights and a new TV deal nationally. I think next contract, and probably Luka will be one of these guys, I'd imagine, Jokic, guys who are signing that next Supermax deal with their current teams, are going to probably make close to, if not $100 million a year, every year. And, Brown's going to make 70 by the end of this. It's just going to go up massively. And people, whether you like it or not, are just going to have to kind of get used to it. And it's just a percentage of what the league's making. They got the 50-50 split. The union's done exceptional. I mean, you can compare this to football. You can compare this to hockey, of course, where they're making like $10 million on the max side. Baseball, even, I think they've kind of blown past. And for a guy
Which
like
is
Jaylen,
sad.
again, when we debated this, Nick, I think we all said Jaylen's probably not a Jokic, Luka, even a Tatum, the guys who you would expect to be making this kind of contract. But being able to offer him this kind of contract is why you're able to keep him and avoid free agency and all the rest. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to be a great contract, but
Well, they just
I
trade
think you had
him.
to do it. Yeah,
I
you
don't.
can trade him. It's
So
movable.
let's keep the discussion away from did the Celtics
Whether he's
do.
worth it, yeah.
Yeah, because or I don't even care whether he's worth. But did the Celtics
Make
have
the
to?
right
We
call,
know they
yeah.
had to, right? Okay, so but let me just start with this because Rick Barry is, with all due respect to him, a world class douchebag. He's always been a douchebag. I mean, but he says what he thinks. He is, and with saying that, Rick Barry is a douchebag that most people hated when he played. He's also a basketball intellect, all right, and a world class player. Now, most people don't know this, Bobby, but Rick Barry in his sophomore season nearly averaged 40 points a game for the Golden State Warriors, 36 points a game. He shot 90% from the line his entire career. I mean, he had a couple here that were 88. I mean, this he had the underhanded shot, right? He dominated two leagues between the ABA and the NBA. He averaged 30 points a game, I think 5 or 6 times in his career. And he must have played about 15 seasons. And, his last two or three seasons were probably under 20 points a game. But at the end of his career, he ends up with a 25 point. He's a champion, an NBA champion, 25 points per game, 5 assists, 7 rebounds, 47% from the field, 89.9% from the line. And he played 1,020 games in all those years, 800 of which were in the NBA. He played 82 games, 4 times, and played 80 or over another 4 times. So I just want to say that to make it clear that Rick Barry, though he has been known to be a douchebag, was an exceptional basketball player. Like when I was growing up, the broadcasters, he being one of them, he didn't do it, but he was a broadcaster. He was also, let's also not forget, he was like the number one analyst on CBS, ABC, and Turner for the entire late 70s and 80s. And this guy played in an era in the 1970s that is comparable to today, in the which of saying the athleticism started to, it wasn't the 60s, right?
Yeah.
But he's a douche, right? But really knows his shit.
So I find this interesting, and I think it was Soap on Deb, friend of the show on the network, who pointed this out. And I'm sure you probably know about this too, Nick. I'm going to pull this up right here because it's very interesting that the parallels, the way people are talking about Brown and that money right now, and Rick Barry when he joined the ABA. Left
$75,000.
Left the NBA for a historic contract offer. Became the first NBA marquee player to jump over to the rival league, And of course, signed for $75,000 with 15% ownership, 5% gate receipts, blah, 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 blah. They call me a traitor. He's trying to, support his family, blah, 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 blah. But he got blasted, I guess, publicly for
because
leaving
he
the
wasn't.
NBA and going
He
for the
was
money.
well, and also I think in the same season he was bald and then came back with a full head of hair. He got a wig, so like there was a whole lot of ball busting. But here's the thing: like I said,
Selfish and money hungry.
So he's not a selfish basketball player, though. The dude could pass, and as far as money goes, he did this in his what was it, his second or third season? I mean, looking at what the players were making back then, I'm taking that payday too. 75,000 is nothing, although I understand there's inflation and whatnot, and for time.
So 75.
But this is a very exceptionally smart contract he signed, and guess what? 4 years later, the ABA was out of business.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't afford to pay him that, is what I'm saying. So at some point, these contracts have to become unsustainable. Like, I won't watch basketball or baseball or football or hockey if anyone is making $100 million a year. I'm not doing it.
That's when you're done?
I'm already halfway done because of the 3-point shot and the attitudes.
But hasn't this always? I heard Simmons. He was actually just talking about it in his last podcast, saying that when players started making $1 million a year, NBA or whoever else,
Bird was the first to sign it in Magic.
They were putting it in Sports Illustrated, and everyone was going crazy, saying $1 million a year. Like this isn't sports anymore. Like this isn't real sports. This is all about the money and blah, 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 and I'm done.
That's a good point. I mean, 10, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we'd probably be saying $100 million is only like $1 million. I don't know.
No, but I mean, so I get from Barry's perspective, and I don't even think, listening back
I don't think he was being jealous.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was a jealousy thing. Like, Max will do that sometimes, and Barkley and all the rest.
Let's not throw Max under the bus. I
know
I'm
saying a lot of the legends, old players.
Max is not broke. I know many that are broke and are watching these guys, and it's not right. It's not right.
Yeah. No, we kicked around the pension plan that they have, and our guys getting that, and I think there's a health plan or whatever it might be. But
think about it.
Certainly, they could do more for the older players.
Yeah, I mean, right down to, do you remember, you might have been a little too young, but like in the Kobe, Pierce, Garnett years, Pau Gasol, they used to do those Legends Never Die stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were just really good at combining the past with the present to elevate the present, right?
Yeah.
And that was really Stern. I hate to put everything good on Stern. He did some bad too, but I mean, since Adam Silver has taken over, I mean, NBA 75 was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Even the commercial campaign was terrible.
You didn't like the bus?
No, and Kareem and in the rocking chair, like it just, I know that the Lakers do that, but it just, to me, man, remember they used to do the arena completely empty? I'll use Jordan Jordan's a good example. When he hit the shot, right, over Elo, they used to do the Hello Atlantic City. I grew up around Philadelphia. But they used to do that for all the different teams, and that was so awesome, right? But it would end, or when they would do the commercials where the legends would be passing the ball in iconic plays, and it would be
like kind of the finals montage. Yeah.
What happened to this stuff? Like, what? This is why the fans, the young fans, are so, they're mad. They're angry at the legends. They're angry if you compliment a player from the past. Everybody likes to say the players from the past are always calling out the play. They're answering questions, right?
Yeah.
So, and no different than Bobby, are you going to ever ask a question about NBA history to any one of the Celtics? Probably not, because you're going to be afraid about
Bill Russell was a big thing last year.
Okay.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like that, I think that was a conversation throughout the season. I mean, Wick was even talking about it at the Jaylen presser, kind of like continuing that legacy, and they did things all year. And
I mean, but maybe Jaylen was doing a lot of stuff behind closed doors for the community. Yeah. But I've seen more since the contract than I have the previous 3 years combined. Now, again, I may be not seeing. You don't have to always show when you're doing nice things for people, but like, I don't know. I mean, Mr. Bill Russell had shit on his walls and in his bed. There's just a big put yourself on that pedestal is like me saying, or anyone saying I feel like Martin Luther King or something. Like you just don't do that. It just
Yeah, no, I think it's more of trying to live up to that in my mind,
and that's admirable. I
yeah,
mean, I sound like a hater if I don't call it admirable. I mean, I know that. I know I'd rather listen. I heard more about the history of the franchise from the Jaylen celebration than I did the entire season prior to. I also heard Banner 18 and winning for the first time since they got ousted in Game 7 against Miami.
they're taking those little steps maturity wise, right? Like you're just starting to see the smallest steps in terms of like the leadership and just saying the right
I don't
things.
know.
And
We'll see it. But I mean, I'm talking about Wick.
yeah,
Listen, everybody always picked on Wick, right? Listen, I've been saying since day one, Wick is not cheap.
Wick
Is
has
he cheap?
always been about winning. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about
I
it.
mean, he has more fire than Brad, Joe, and all the players combined.
Well, remember the locker room incident after Game
Yes.
3?
Yes. Yeah, I loved it. And they came back. Listen, I'm not saying you have to scream and yell, but like
At
play
that
or
point, you do.
you
Down
do at
three
that point.
nothing.
He was like, take the uniform off. I don't blame him. I would have said the same thing.
Play with
Listen,
some
he
balls.
play with some balls. I mean, and let's talk about it right
That
now.
was
Like,
the
what
funniest moment of last year.
I wish they had a camera on that. There probably is somewhere.
It
It had
probably did, but they're not gonna
Brad's
let
face
that
had
out.
to be hilarious.
Yeah.
Brad's face. It had
Oh,
to be.
Joe.
He was
Yeah, I mean, remember Joe came out that night and was like, "It was all on me."
shaking. Yeah, and I mean Joe deserved that in my
Yeah.
opinion. I mean, I think it's been a shit show. So to have Wick step up like that, like people hate the owners. Listen, the players are making way more money than the owners. I'm sorry, they are. Jaylen Brown makes more money than Wick Grossbeck.
Does he deserve to?
No,
Isn't it the players though who drive this league? Like people don't even know who the owners are. People a lot
that's
of the
not
times
true.
don't know who the executives are. Even the
Yeah.
coaches. Like people show up and my big argument here, and it's going to be interesting with the CBA, right? Because I think some people are looking at this right now and saying these players are going to make this kind of money. You'll have your minimum guys who are making pretty good money for minimum guys at 2-3 million.
Yep.
Like that number probably used to be well below a
It,
million.
well, the vet minimum used to be 5 million, I think. Did it go
No,
down?
I think it's 3 million now, and it
Okay.
back in a couple of
It was
years ago, it
maybe
was probably less than a million.
800,000. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so that was the mid level I think you're thinking of.
I
So,
am.
those guys, lower level guys are making pretty good money, but the guys in the middle, like Grant, who did pretty well in this last deal, are they going to end up getting squeezed out a little bit here, at least in comparison to some of the bigger guys? That's what we're going to see here. But there's no doubt the players here have a pretty good shake. But I think that reflects a league that's really star driven. And I don't think Barry came at it from this perspective, but I do think probably a lot of the older players look at it and say, like, we set the foundation for what these players are earning this money on now. And we got pennies on this kind of
Yeah, I
money.
mean, Rick Barry's too proud to say that, but I'm sure that's in his mind. I mean, but
Right.
he is right. I mean, can you see paying Jaylen money or any kind of money to somebody who averaged 18 points a game in the playoffs and 7 turnovers or whatever it was, 5 turnovers? I mean, here's the thing. Like, take Jaylen out
You
of the
didn't have
equation.
endorsements and all that now like you do now either back then.
No, no. And
Until
you get
Jordan.
deferments. Do you know what a deferment is? An NBA
Yeah.
deferment? Let's
Yeah.
tell the listeners, right?
Unbelievable.
An NBA deferment is, and most stars got paid deferment, which means, say you signed $1 million contract, you would be paid 500,000 over the course of the 3-year contract or whatever it was. The other half a million would go into an annuity that you wouldn't get until you retire.
Mm-hmm.
So when Moses Malone signed for cash, the NBA blew up because they had never seen anything like it. They were always working on deferments, which is like saying, okay, 10 years ago, a $20 million contract was absurdly high, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to retire before you get that money, it's the NBA is gaining interest and you're losing value because inflation is going up. You know what I mean? Like cost of living is changing. So by the time you get it, like I know players who never saw their deferment because they got a divorce in the meantime and they ended up having to pay the deferment as a divorce settlement. So I mean, the NBA has come a long way, and I do believe, I agree with you, it's a player-driven league, and that's the way the NBA has decided to market the league, going back to David Stern, and that's worked tremendously well. I'm taking basketball out of the equation, sports out of the equation, Jaylen Brown out of the equation. If you heard the CEO of CLNS Media was making $69 million this year, or in 3 years, or whenever, you probably would stop coming to my site, or you'd stop paying, to support our sponsors. Like, at that point, it probably behooves of me to donate to charities and donate back to past employees or retired employees or whatever. I'm just saying it's an irresponsible thing to pay. Jaylen Brown is making $20 million more than the CEO of Nike.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a bigger conversation about the
It's not. When you
economy
have
and
the
the
player,
system, right?
when you have the players putting on their shoes Nike and exit out because they're making too much money and they have slave labor in China, but yet you're making money on them having slave labor in China, and you're making more money than the CEO. That's what I'm saying. Where's the accountability to that then? Like, what is the differentiator now that Jaylen, and I'm using him as the example, it's going to be everybody soon, but Jaylen can do to mitigate the pressure he's going to have on and off the court? Because you can't live up to that because it's an outrageously high salary.
Yeah, and you brought up the sustainability of this, which I don't think
Yeah.
is a huge concern. We'll see. I know some of the regional sports networks went out of business, so that's going to kind of hit
Quite a
the cap,
bit.
hit
Yep.
the cap a little bit in coming years.
And locals are stopping to carry games.
But the owners aren't just paying this kind of money to the players for fun. If
They're
it
playing
didn't
it because
make business sense, if it didn't make economic sense for them to be involved in this, and
I'm
we'll
not
see
saying it
like
doesn't.
who's gonna stay in, who's gonna stay out in terms of owners into the future here now. Jordan just sold, of course.
Owners don't make their money till they sell, Bobby.
Yeah.
Look at Wick's investment coming in and what the team is valued at now.
But
So,
right
like,
now, not many owners are selling.
well, no, because the economy is bad right now. I don't think that they want to sell when you can't. I mean, interest rates are. I mean, that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
But like
But I'm
Jordan
saying
cashed out hard.
they look at this, and I think there's a line down the street. You just saw Phoenix's owner, who was some mortgage guy or something else.
Yeah.
They want to do this. They want to pay Jaylen $300 million. They want to pay Durant, Beal, these guys because it's
this is going
making
to sound
them massive money.
non-democratic. I just think everyone is making too much money. So it might be time to lower the ticket prices. I'm not kidding. I mean, you're going to these games. You can't get out of. I used to, when I first started covering the Celtics, I could
Game
go
7 was insane this year.
I could sit in the balcony.
Tickets.
I could sit in the balcony for $20. And this isn't that long ago.
But that's another conversation too, because there's one ticket seller who's doing all kinds of crazy things with tickets right now that have destroyed that market too.
Yeah, but I mean, the ticket prices are too high, especially when, hey, how about this? You're going to have load management? All tickets are half price tonight.
Free beer.
Listen, how about this? Stop letting LeBron change his fucking number so you don't have to sell 30 different jerseys and he hurts his integrity by wearing Bill Russell's number. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the things that I think you can give back to the fans, to the former. I just think it's irresponsible to pay that much money to anybody. I mean, unless you're a brain surgeon, they don't make that kind of money.
But again, they want to. The owners want to. The teams want to.
But because the alternative is to do what they should do, which is reduce the price. Yeah. Here's the thing.
That's the thing. They're making, and again, I don't have numbers in front of me, Nick. But
they lost massive money. They lost massive money. No, the average NBA owner makes $10 million a year. The average NBA franchise is worth 200 or brings in 200 million in revenue, and that's their gross profit. That's before you remove the payroll, the operating expenses, and the arena fees. Too. And then there's revenue sharing, right? Yeah. So, but the point that where I was going with that was I don't want to sound non-democratic. I just think it's irresponsible to pay that much money when fans can barely afford to go to the games. So maybe that means you're pricing yourself out of the market, and maybe in my lifetime you're not going to see it. And I'm not saying it's comparable to the ABA, but what happened with Rick Barry and the ABA? Listen, At some point, people are going to say, I'm done paying $300 to go to a game when the star player isn't even playing, and then I got to drive home and listen
Well,
to my
I
son
agree
or
with
daughter
that.
cry the whole way. You know what I'm saying? I'm
I
getting
agree with
beat
that.
on because he didn't play.
And just to wrap this, the one thing I will say is, and I love Durant, I do.
Yep.
I do think, like, when he said they were talking about Lillard moving.
Bobby, keep that thought. Kai, I just want to say this. I'm not picking on, put that comment up, Bobby. Keep your thought, too. I want you to go back to it. I'm not picking on Jaylen Brown. It sounds like I am because he's the only guy making that kind of money right now. What I'm trying to tell you is, here's what you say. And he put in the hard work to earn it. He'd be dumb not to take his worth. Obviously, he'd be dumb. But nobody put in enough hard work to earn $250 million in 5 years. You didn't. I didn't. And we work our asses off every single day. I don't care what Jaylen's doing. It doesn't matter about Jaylen. It's the dollar figure is way too high when Americans are having a hard time paying their bills even. Hey, Brian, go ahead. No, you can finish where you were.
No, I that's the problem here, is that in this country there's massive wealth disparity.
And the NBA is playing a huge part in that. Jaylen Brown's making $70 million while Miriam is making $10 an hour, $15 an hour.
I think minimum wage is 15 now, right?
No, whatever. You know what I mean. I think she's making more than that too, but you get what I'm saying. I mean, a towel boy at the Garden makes $55,000.
No, but that's again, you got, and I'll get to the other point quickly before we move on. There's massive wealth disparity, and that's something Jaylen's talked about too.
Yeah, he's a big part of it.
But you have to go and get yours at the end of the day, because that's just how the system works. Is you got to go and get yours. You're not going to take, again, when he said, I want to address wealth disparity in Boston, people would say to him, well, why don't you take the minimum wage? Like, you got to get yours, especially if you want to make an impact on stuff within the system. So that's just how it is.
It's so much money.
It's not hypocritical.
It's extremely hypocritical.
If you got offered $300 million right now, Nick, to go do a podcast
I'd take it.
for
I would be a hypocrite.
CBS.
I would take it, and I'd be a hypocrite.
Yeah, everybody sells out.
But I guarantee you this: if I got $300 million, every one of you guys would get $1 million or more. Every one of you that work for this company.
Brown's throwing money,
and you'd
around.
all get ownership in my company. You all would, because I'd had $300 million. I wouldn't even know what the frick to do with that kind of money. Do you know what I'm saying? Again, I sound like an old man, and I'm not picking on Jaylen. I'm saying sports as a whole, the NBA in particular, baseball always had this problem with overpaying their stars. Always.
Well, they were moving too damn slow. I was at the game last night. I'm thrilled with how those games are moving.
Yeah, now it's going fast, right?
Let's go on to the last topic we had here before we get out of here.
Before one more thing. I just want to say one more time.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on Jaylen Brown. If I were Jaylen Brown and I got offered $304 million, I would jump up and down, run around, do whatever I had to do to get that money.
Whatever press conference.
Good for you, Jaylen.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you people as fans at some point need to say, the buck stops here. I'm taking my kids to these games and listening to them cry the whole time, and the players aren't showing up. They're not playing. So, either lower the prices, pay people less. I don't know, but
we got to say too,
keep brushing it under the table that there's not problems because the ratings are good, which is also an inflated, fictitious number.
We also got to say too, he has pretty big aspirations for this money too, in terms of stuff he wants to do business wise and in the city. I'm trying to
figure out what they are, because he hasn't really said. He just keeps saying, "I have big plans."
Yeah,
we don't.
We'll see.
What are they? I'm still waiting for him to clarify the New York Times comments, because that never happened. His quotes that we somehow misinterpreted, but they were his quotes. He still hasn't clarified that.
Yeah, we will see. Let's shout out our other sponsor here, AG1. I'm wearing the shirt right now.
Yo, baby.
Look at that. I'm loving this. Jimmy unboxed his whole. Did you get one too, a box, Nick, of all their gear?
I did not. I'm not privy to the freeness. You guys get all the freeness.
Yeah, I guess the every nighters here. Nick pops in every once in a while, but us grinding at the Garden, we need AG1. We got to keep our energy up. We got to use this scoop that gives you 75 vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, probiotics, and more in our water each day. They gave us a nice glass container to drink it out of. And this is why I keep saying it's not in this deal, but if you do go subscribe over there at AG1, they're going to send some cool stuff for you to, scoop your powder out of, drink it out of. They've got
Cool
countless
merch.
gear, things to mix it with. They sent over
A
one of those.
frother.
Yes,
Jimmy
a
got a
frother.
frother, didn't he?
Yeah.
I
So
wonder if he's using it.
they are offering you some free stuff though for the subscription. You go to drinkag1.com/garden and get a year's supply of vitamin D, which is going to be important. Days getting a little shorter now. Going to get a little colder out soon into the fall. You want to stay
I'm dreading
healthy.
it. I'm dreading it.
Get that year's supply of vitamin D to get you right through the winter, and 5 free travel packs if you got any trips late this summer. I might get away for a week, Nick, before the season.
You should, Bobby.
So
take the time and do it, man.
I'll take it.
I might too.
With my travel packs. Go hit the beach or something and have my AG1 every morning, as we have for a year here on the show. We love it. The reviewers love it too. Go check the reviews over there. As I always say, 5 stars. drinkag1.com/garden. Go get that offer and support the Garden Report. AG1.
Before you go on to sorry, I cut you off. /garden. But before Tommy, we're saying he should have gotten that contract for the reason that you're saying it. Okay, he would have walked, or they had to pay him that. That's not the debate. It's not about Jaylen's worth it, not worth it. It's about the amount of money that we are now paying players that are, Jaylen Brown. This is going to get me killed, but I don't know if he's top 20. He might be top 20 in the NBA.
So this account, but to wrap this show here, and
wait a minute, I want to know if they're top 20 or if you think he's top 20
in the NBA.
Yeah,
probably not.
Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to make, and I think that was Rick Barry's point. Anyway, let's go to our lists because everybody's still freaking out about Dr. J.
So this is the list right here.
Oh, this
set Nick off.
I mean, I'm going to start a show called "Dismiss the List" because there's so many stupid lists.
So this is such a bad list. I don't even know if it was serious. Like this might have been a troll.
Before you even go, Bobby, so it's bad because Bobby Manning sends me rapid fire texts of tweets and different things. A lot of times refuting a lot of my boomer rage, which is good. I like it. When he sent me this one, he goes, "Is this the worst piece of silliness you've ever seen?" So I had a couple drinks when I was looking at it. I just gave it a double tap. But when I got up in the morning after my second cup of coffee, I went through your text and I saw it, and my head blew off my shoulders at this one. Look at this list.
So again, there's some seasons in here, like Bird 87.
Tatum's not his best year.
Tatum's gonna have to make the list, I think.
Tatum should be on that. If you're doing Celtics, see, mine's all-time NBA, Bobby. I didn't do Celtics.
Oh, okay. I was talking.
That's all right.
I wanted to do Celtics, but
I could quickly do Celtics.
So, I mean, does Garnett 08 fit the list? Defensive Player of the Year, championship.
I mean, it's hard when you're talking because, like, let's go this way. Let's first say who's missing from the list, and then let's say who we're going to take off.
Okay, so you responded with some names here of who's potentially missing from this list.
I can rattle them off. Cowens.
Yeah, Cowens was a good one. Do you know which year was Cowens?
Cowens, well, I mean, 72 through 76, he was MVP or runner-up. There's my list. There it is. Yeah, no, these are the people that are missing. I'm not saying all these guys should be on there. Okay, so there they are. Now, who on this list deserves to be on there? If you ask me, Cowens, Hondo, Parrish. Let's start with those 3 and eliminate 3 of the dumb ones.
So Cowens' best season, 2014 and 4 in 75. All-star with a steal and a block per game.
MVP.
47%. Was the MVP 75?
73, I thought. But
73,
74 at 6'10", he beat prime Kareem in the NBA Finals. I mean, Cowens did that. That was Cowens and Havlicek, but it was Cowens, JoJo, and Havlicek. But Cowens was the man. Most people were incensed, like the traditional fans, with Cowens and Hondo being omitted.
Yeah. So
Havlicek is so underappreciated, man.
I do think we should slide one Cowens season in there. Where would you go next among these names?
Hondo. Havlicek I would go to.
So Havlicek's best season, you would say, was
I mean, he played 17 years, dude. He had a lot of them.
28, 9, and 7.5
That's
in
probably it. That's a
1971.
good stat line. Tiny. Someone says, what about Tiny? He wasn't a Celtic long enough, I don't think.
45% from the field, 8 free throws a game that year, 81 games. That guy never stopped playing.
No. No one talks about him. So Hondo deserves to be on there, right? Uh-oh, Bobby. Did Bobby lock up or did I lock up? Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm back. You got me?
Okay, good. All right, good. Yeah. I tried to hold it down, but I couldn't. But let's start with Collins and Havlicek. Who are we going to replace on the list now?
So I think we got to
scroll up
because
I can't see it. There we go. Kyrie's out. Kyrie. Get Kyrie out of there. That's the one that set me off to a point of like, were you born yet? Because he destroyed the franchise. We're still paying the price from Kyrie. Get him
and I bet he had some good stats. He had a solid year, but he got hurt right before the end of it. He played 60 games and he was 24, 3, and 5. Like it was a fine year. It shouldn't be in the all-time list.
I mean, yeah. So let's put Hondo or Collins in his place, please.
Well, I think we'll take out, sadly, Kyrie. Derek White too.
Why sadly? He's been here 3 years, dude.
This is an awesome season from him, but top 10 in Celtics history, probably not. Again, I think if you're going to have a top 10 season in Celtics history, you probably had to win a championship at the end of it.
You kind of do. And you also got to have 10 names because there's only 9 here.
Yeah.
You do realize that, right? They skipped 5 or 6. What did they skip?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, there's 10 names.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, is this? He must have edited it. He had to edit it. He didn't have. Who did he put in then? Ray Allen, I think he put in at 6.
So we took out Kyrie. We took out White, put in Collins and Havlicek.
I think that's fair. You got to take Al out.
Horford's got to go. Sorry, Al.
I mean, I love him, but he's got to go. I mean, you could put in Parrish there. Any season Parrish had was better than Al's averages last year.
Parrish's best year, at least numbers-wise.
21 and 15, maybe 21 and 12.
I see a 19, 10, and
early 80s. He was in the 20s.
2 blocks. Pretty much all those seasons from 80 to 83, he was 19, 10, 2 blocks.
Now, keep in mind, you also he was the 4th option.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was pretty damn good. But I put him in over who we were moving here, over Ray. Al, yeah, poor Al. I mean, he can't.
No, some of these names probably fit the top 25 list, but we're talking top 10
maybe,
Celtics history.
I mean, Max is my best friend. I'm not even putting him in there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
So which other names are we going to keep? So Bird, 87, you didn't think was his best year. What was Bird's best year?
I mean, his best season was 86, but statistically it was 88.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the one where everybody says Tatum's already better than Bird because he's averaging 30 points a game, and Larry averaged 29.9.
And in 87, he was 28, 9, and 7.
I mean, he was great in 87, but 86 he was better.
So you could put multiple Bird seasons
he didn't win
on
that,
this
listen,
list as a whole.
You could put it from 84 to 89.
Yeah.
From 84 to 88.
Maybe we'll say like one player deserves 1 year on this list. You can't have more than one.
Yeah, I mean, because Bird, like, you know, he won the MVP 3 years in a row, and 87 wasn't one of those years.
Yeah.
You know, Magic won it that year.
So let's just say one of those Bird years stays.
Mm-hmm.
Are we keeping Garnett? 08?
For now, yeah, but I think Ray's got to go.
Bill's best year?
That probably works. He had a great year in 64.
15, 25 rebounds a game, his career high. Almost 5 assists per game as well.
Yep. And they didn't track blocks. There was probably 10, 15 blocks a game. You got to get Ray out of there, bro.
Yeah, I think you take Ray out. Despite the playoff heroics that year, he was pretty great. But
who goes in for Ray? You could put either. I mean, you could do a let's face it. Russell's a hat tip to a degree, right? So you're gonna put Kuzi in there.
Whew, that becomes tough on the stats side too, because again, the stats
weren't really some great years, but he had some low field goal percentage years.
Yeah,
Jojo White's another good one. Satch was a Garnett type defender. Casey was a Marcus Smart-like defender. Sam Jones, one of the best two guards in NBA history. Ramsey, the first sixth man. And then
Sam had some monster seasons.
Sam had monster seasons. Then Sharman has 17 championships between the Celtics and the Lakers.
Yeah, and Sam was shooting jump shots, shooting close to 50% in the
Sam would
60s.
bank it in. He'd bank it in from 20 feet.
He shot 17 shots a game in 63, 48%.
They don't beat the Lakers
and
in 69 if Sam's not on that team because he hit the game winner to force game 7.
Yeah.
You got to put Sam on there. That's it.
69 Sam?
Yep. No, I mean, just his best year. I don't even know what it was. He retired in 69.
63 probably.
Yeah. And then, now you say, okay, do you want to take KG out for one of these guys?
Well, we took White out. We took Ray. We took Kyrie. We took Al.
You got to tweet this out, by the way, to this kid, to Cousin Turn.
Pierce 02. Does he deserve to be on the list? Should we get a Pierce season on there in general?
Yeah, and it's probably 02. I think it was like 5th in the league in scoring that year. He averaged like 29 points a game.
Yeah, the great playoff series, too, or playoff run as a whole to the East Finals.
People disrespect Paul terribly.
26, 7, and 3. He hasn't helped himself post-retirement.
No, I mean, he's not. I mean, did you
40
see
from 3 on 6 attempts, too. That was ahead of his time.
Hey, I think KG stays simply for the fact that nothing could revive the culture of the franchise after Bird retired and Lewis died, except Kevin Garnett coming to Boston. Did it literally in 12 hours.
Does 87 McHale stay as well?
Yeah, yeah. Look at that. Look, 87, it's the only year any player, it might have been tossed now, but back then, like in the last, it was, he averaged 60% from the field and 80% from the free throw line.
Chat wants to put Rondo.
I have Rondo on my honorable mentions, but he's not.
He can be top 15, maybe 20.
15, yeah. I mean, you got to put Kuzi ahead of him. You can't have Rondo.
So right now we have.
You got to put JoJo ahead of him.
We have Bird, KG,
DJ ahead of him.
We have Bird, KG, Russell, Tatum, Cowens.
Now these aren't in order. These are just 10 names.
No.
Yeah.
Who else did we add to the list? We added
Cowens, Sam Jones, and Robert Parrish.
And we added Robert Parrish. So then you have Tatum, McHale, Pierce. So Pierce, McHale, Cowens, Jones.
You gotta tweet this out, Bobby.
Tatum, Russell, KG, and Bird. So those 10 names. Where would you put Tatum's 2023, which of course is the highest scoring?
Why are we putting them in order now? Or
no, I'm just curious where you put Tatum on this list because this guy had him 4th.
And this is based on seasons, right?
Yeah,
I'd probably put him. I mean, Bird didn't win a title in '89. He didn't win one in '87. Russell always won one. Kyrie never even played here.
No. Our list.
Yeah, it's got to be right there with Bird.
So you put him number 2, maybe the season he just had.
If you're looking at a season, not a career, yeah. IT does not belong on this list, no. Although that IT year, if you're looking at years, I actually take that back, Michael. If you're looking at years,
the top 15, 20.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think he is. Yeah.
This is an article, Nick. I'm going to sign it.
I think it's a good article. If I could write, I'd have to have ChatGPT write it.
Yeah.
Let me go through my all-NBA top 10 quick because I prepared it for you.
Top 10 seasons? Or top 10 players?
These aren't seasons. These are top 10 players. And, this is kind of like a response to Dr. J and Shaq's list, okay? Righting the wrong, let's say. So my top players in NBA history are as follows, and in no particular order. Some might surprise you. Michael Jordan, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kareem, LeBron, Duncan, Kobe, Steph.
Say it again.
Jordan, Russell, Chamberlain, Bird, Magic, Kareem, LeBron, Duncan, Kobe, Steph. I mean, I'm really going out on a limb with these young guys.
No Shaq? Did I miss Shaq?
I mean, like Bob Ryan just got done saying on his show the other day, Shaq is fringe top 20, and Goodman agreed with him, I think.
Bob hates centers, though, doesn't he? Or
No,
he
he
just
loves
finds
centers.
them.
He just does not like Shaq, and Shaq does not like him. They do not like each other.
Did Hakeem make the list?
Why
No,
not
right?
Duncan? Why would you take Duncan out? He won 4 titles. He was the last player to play with fundamentals.
He's got to be on there, especially if you're considering one of the best defenders ever. And I always say that, like, you got to consider
Bobby,
the best defender ever, or the best defender in the league on the same scale as you do the best offensive players.
The
offense might matter a little more than defense, but it's still relatively equally important.
So the only guys that could be bounced really from this list with good conscience would be Kobe or Steph.
What
would you replace them with? I mean, if Durant hasn't, jumped from team to team to team, I probably would have put him in there. Giannis isn't there.
No, not yet.
The Joker isn't there.
Oh, he'll be there, though, by the end.
Probably
if he keeps
will.
Doing what he's doing.
He probably will. Anthony Davis is not there. Don't go there, Bobby.
No.
Embiid can't win, right?
No.
So I mean, really what I'm doing to take Kobe and Steph out, I'm putting in like Elgin Baylor, which I think isn't fair because it's so long ago.
Hakeem, I like.
Hakeem. So would you take out Steph or Kobe? Or any of the other names?
Jordan, so here's Russell, my thing with Kobe. Bird. Like, again, all the respect in the world.
Same.
Huge tragedy. But I do think, what happened a couple years ago, tragically, probably boosted the myth around him a little bit. Not to say he wasn't one of the all-time greats. But again, like, he's playing with Shaq for 3 of those titles.
He disassembled that. He did what he did off the court, and then
he beats the Magic for the 4th one.
Forced a trade with Shaq, destroyed what could have been a dynasty for sure.
Yeah, and listen, he was a rock solid defender. He could move the ball when he had to. Great leader, all that. But the game, like Hakeem or Kobe. I know it's tough to compare different positions.
I'm going Hakeem.
Like I don't think it's a huge knock to Kobe to knock him down below the top. But some people say
maybe
Kobe,
I want to take Steph out. But Steph changed the game, even if it's for the worst. He changed the game. He changed. Yeah. And let me tell
you,
someone in here. I'm just looking back really quick. Okay, Dave D brings up a terrific point. I'm going to move Tatum way down because Havlicek averaged 30 points a game. There was no 3-point line.
I wouldn't put Havlicek up there. Someone said take LeBron out. LeBron's a lock.
Not on my top 10 NBA. I'm saying on my Celtics list. I know I'm bouncing around here.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, you asked me where Tatum stands with the 30.
We do need Havlicek in there. Yeah, so.
Well, we had it in there, but you asked me he's in there. But you asked me, where does Tatum stand with last season's 30-point average? And I said right by alongside Bird. And I'm taking that back. Because Havlicek averaged 29 points a game and there was no 3. Yeah. Bird averaged 30 points a game while only shooting 2 or 3 threes a game. So you kind of gotta you can't put that with the volume of threes that these guys are shooting now. You can't really compare that way. And then also Michael Spitzer brings up a great point. You just convinced me to remove someone because the Big O's got to go in the NBA all-time list. This show's a disaster, by the way.
Oscar Robertson.
I mean, come on. It's Oscar. Yeah. You got to put him in there.
I think you need Steph in there. I think you need
Duncan too,
because
he changed the game. Do you need...
You need Magic and Bird.
You need Kareem. Do you need Duncan? I think you do.
I think you do. And you need
I think the
LeBron
Big O's
and Jordan.
I think the Big O's got to sit at number 11.
Yeah. Kobe, maybe you knock him down. If you want to put Kobe over Hakeem, I'm all for it, and he can be in the top 15. Another honorable mention's probably Bailey, like you said, and
Jerry West.
Shaq.
Shaq. Shaq's not top 10. He's really not. I don't even think he puts himself top 10. And that's
Shaq should be
top 20.
Now Hakeem beat Shaq, right? A couple of times.
Yeah.
Or once in that Magic series. Shaq was
one
young.
Time.
But...
Yeah, one time.
So that probably gives him an edge over Shaq. But Shaq, man, all the blocks.
You got to think about it this way.
3 championships in a row.
every player, the good players of the 2000s, not everyone, but like the ones that had to transition their games, like Kobe, they went and worked with Hakeem on footwork. I mean, you got guys like Max who will say Hakeem is the best player of all time, and he played with them. I don't buy that, but he does that to get a rise too. But I think he does believe it. I mean, I like Hakeem there. I think it's tough to leave the Big O out, but we gotta. I agree with whoever said it about Larry Bird's 30 being more impressive than Tatum's. Overall, I think this is a good list, Bobby. Jordan, Russell, Chamberlain, Bird, Johnson, Kareem, LeBron, Duncan, Hakeem, and Steph.
I like it.
Should
and
we
that's
roll
our
with
show
it?
for today.
That's
Nick
it, baby.
Gelso, always good to talk to you. Thanks for filling in today. We'll be back next week with any news. Maybe
Hit the
Porzingis will
subscribe.
officially back out. Subscribe, Celtics All Access,
And
CLNS
NBA
Media.
Yep.
Patriots Press Pass too. I'm sure they got some stuff from last night's preseason game. And show our sponsors some love. FanDuel.com/Boston for bonus bets every time your Super Bowl winner wins. And drinkag1.com/Garden for 5 free trial.
Bobby, guess what today is? TGI Friday. I am going for a cocktail. I'm just going to walk right outside on my lanai here and have a martini.
I'm heading down to Fenway. Follow along tonight. Chris Sale's back. Going to watch another Sox game. It's that time of year. Just going to soak in as much baseball as I can. And then training camp next month. So it's coming fast. Stay tuned to here, and we'll have a show next week sometime. See you.